Well, Megafauna and Pokemon. So Megafauna is any animal that is any animal and organism that's over 99 pounds. Basically, agree, but it's basically any animal that is over 99 pounds. But of course, Pokemon, they break the rules and have plant Pokemon. So we'll be including them as well. So if anything is an official Pokemon, then yes, it will count as, and it's over 99 pounds, it will count as Megafauna. So none of these Pokemon, of course, are obviously Megafauna. They're mostly first stage Pokemon, and basically as well. So Pokemon like Murkrow, Crafty, Litwick, Togedemaru, Orikaru, Wurmple, and Pokemon like that. All Pokemon in this area will not be Megafauna. So Pokemon they would expect to be Megafauna like Weezing, because they don't meet the weight requirements, they are not Megafauna. Say for Gorgeist. We will get to the Megafauna Pokemon when we reach the 99 IB mark. The first Pokemon we consider Megafauna is Marowak, Vigafo, Italian, and Tentacool. Yep, all these Pokemon are considered Megafauna by the definition. Tapu Buu, and will not be including legendaries. Volcarona is the next Pokemon to be Megafauna, weighing around 101 pounds. Obstagoon as well, weighing around 101 pounds, along with Figaro for 102 pounds, and Brissi 103 pounds. Absol 103 pounds, and Malamel 103 pounds. And basically, Hakumo, which is the second form, Alakazam, Hitmontop, Gardevoir, Granbull, and several Megas, Hippopotas, and Hitmonlee are all Megafauna. Now we're going to this one. Zweilous, Hitmonchan, Skarmory, Snover, and yeah, we're skipping legendaries. Dracopult, Sock, Krang, Kankia, Yamega, Aurora Muck, Blaziken, Sceptile, Galade, Zaviper, Campro, Aegislash, Poliwrath, Heracross, Lucario, Mr. Mime, Aurora Sandslash, Golbat, Tentacool, Pinsir, Magcargo, Ludicolo, Infernape, Pignite, Flo, Nigigrio. I think that's an Ultra Beast, but yeah, it's a Megafauna in its own area. Pyroswine, Cypher, Gabite, Kadabra, Seodon, Vanillux, Smeargle, Heatmore, Mr. Rhyme, Rolantis, Totem-sized, Whirlipede, Aerodactyl, and Sifter. And basically any Pokemon, you get the point. All of these Pokemon listed here are considered Megafauna by the definition. I don't think Elon is Megafauna. It does raise a lot. But Pokemon that are big, and also and zoology, the most common threshold is 46 kilograms and having mass comparable or larger than a human, or a ton. So basically, the Pokemon have to have a mass comparable to the human. Whereas most of these Pokemon do have mass and are on the size of a human. Like Drapion, even Pokemon like Aeron. It may be small, but does have a mass comparable to a human. Which means, by that definition, it's all Megafauna. There's also another definition where Megafauna is only Pokemon that are around 1 ton in weight. But if we go to that definition, well, the only Pokemon that will count will be Primal Groudon, Cosmoem, and Celestia. The largest Megafauna Pokemon that isn't a legendary is Mudstale. And then Megasteelix. And then Copper Stats, whatever, I can't pronounce it. Sorry. And Stonjourner, Avalugg, Snorlax are the only Pokemon confirmed to have 1,000 pounds. Which means, just like in the real life world, there must have been some megafaunal extinctions as well. So, what about reintroducing Megafauna Pokemon to areas that they were no longer part? So the Kanto region is the first region of Pokemon. And obviously, if you really want to reroute the Pokemon universe, and make it truly diverse, like in Galar, I think reintroducing Pokemon to other routes would be very, very important. Which means reintroducing Butterfree, Beedrill, Pidgey, and Pidgeyline to more routes. They are the most common Pokemon in most routes, but routes that lack some of the later Pokemon could be reintroduced. For Pokemon that will not thrive in different environments, for example, Geodude will not thrive in non-rocky environments. But if you look at Gen 1 area, yeah, and here is the geography of the Kanto region. Here is the geography according to the Kanto region. Geodudes, of course, will thrive in the mountainous areas. There is really no need for Geodudes in any other area. Same here as Zubats. We're gonna go by one. And, of course, go the starters. The problem of the starters is that they have a very imbalance with males being way more common than females. And they probably will not be able to survive in the wild. All of these Pokemon in the early game are found throughout the area, with Pidgey thriving in more woodland areas, and Feline thriving in the couple of mountainous areas in the Kanto region. I think reintroducing Feline to various areas around Lavender Town and Victory Road, and of course in about Island, before it gets destroyed, would be useful. Sandshrew and Sandslash could be, of course, occupying most of these areas in the more mountainy areas. Ekans and Arbox should not be birds exclusives and should be found throughout most of the region. Snakes are very common as well. Saving of Pikachu and Raichu. Well, in the original games, they want to make Pikachu well, so you can't get Pikachu. But I think Pikachu realistically should be found across the whole region, because it's a mouse and it mostly will be found across the urban areas, the more urban towns. Sandshrew and Nidoran should be in the more mountainous areas and more, more rugged areas. And Nidoran is found in Rooftree, but really should be found across all of Kanto. Clefairy and Clefable will probably continue to be confined to Mount Moon. Vulpix as well is shown it can thrive in forested areas. So being restricted to up here, around here, is really dumb. And Vulpix and Growlithe as a proxy should really be found across the whole region. And I actually found more around here as well, but they should be really found across the whole region. I wouldn't be surprised if they already are. Others as well should be found in earlier routes. Others may have been gone to extinct in these earlier routes. Paras and Parasect will just occupy the other areas as well. Venonat and Venomoth should really occupy most of the forested areas as well. Diggerductile will already occupy Diggett's Cave, and maybe could occupy Mount Moon. Meowth, of course, would be definitely way more common than it is in the games. It is a cat, and it's probably found across the whole city. Psyduck and Golduck as well. Mickey and Primeape could occupy most of this forest in that area. I don't know if Kanto experiences winters. Of course, they don't have seasons. Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, and of course all the remakes they made of them. But Mankey, if realistically, it would occupy most of the forested areas. Growlithe line should occupy similarly to the Vulpix line, and will occupy different niches. The Abra line, well, yeah, there are Abras. Metop and Metoak should be found in the mountainous areas. That's where they thrive the most. Bellsprout should be found in areas for artists, and other forested areas to increase the biodiversity. Tentacool and Tentacool are found mostly in water areas. Geodude are always found where they're supposed to be found. Ponyta should be found in more plains and open areas, where there really isn't many open areas, except for some of the routes. So there isn't really much areas where these Pokemon could be found, realistically. Slowpokes should be found across the riverway, the one riverway around the region and around Victory Road, that area where that river is. Basically, wherever the rivers are, Slowpokes should be found. And also, it is found in oceans, so coastal slowpokes can also be used as well as a separate subspecies, as well. But they can also fence into the river. Magnemite basically is restricted to one area, but could be found around most urban areas. Farfetch'd was once hunted to near extinction, but they should be reintroduced throughout the whole region. Doduo and Dutchville, again, they need a lot of space, and I think the one Pokemon found in the Safari Zone. But you really need to have a large space, and I think the more rugged areas would be perfect for them and the less forested areas. Seal and Dugong will be found across the coasts. Glamour and Muck will be found around the urban centers. Zelda and Quaisa will be found underwater. The Ghastly Lion will still be found in Lavender Town, where they are found. Onyx will occupy the caves. Drowsy and Hypno will occupy most of the mountainous areas and terrain and abandoned building areas. Voltorb will occupy the abandoned building areas as well, which is the Rab area and Pokemon Rab before it gets destroyed. Execute is exotic species. Cubo and Marowak, I think any Pokemon found in this Valley Zone are skipped. Cubo and Marowak could be found in more drier areas. Yes, like the Victory Road and, of course, Mount Moon area. And, of course, Rock Tunnel area. Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee, really, you can find, they could be found across the more open areas where they can fight. Coffee and Weezing will be found more across, urban areas. Rhyhorn and Chansey and Tangela, Chansey and Rhyhorn are both, and Gigaston are all found in the Safari Zone. Tangela would probably obviously thrive in the forests. Seeking and Goldeen will be found in the rivers. Horsey and Caesar Stallion and Starmie will be found in the ocean. Mr. Mime could be introduced to more urban areas. I think that's why I see the most thriving, in cave-like areas. Cypher is an exotic Pokemon. Jinx is of course only found on the Seafoam Islands. I think realistic it should stay there because it's an ice type. Tauros and Pinsir are exotic Pokemon. Electabuzz should be in the power plant area, and Magmar should be in the more mountainous areas. But there's really no volcano-like areas. Eevees, I think, would be found pretty much everywhere at this point, considering they're basically a very popular Pokemon. Lapras should be found in, of course, the seas and Magikarp and Gyarados. And Porygon can be found wherever Porygon can be. Entratini is a important Pokemon. So that is it about Gen 1. And of course, we have the counterpart. All Pokemon Gen 2 and Gen 1, Kanto and Zoto, should interchange with each other. The only thing really blocking them is the mountain range. There's also a bit more open areas in Zoto, but it's mostly forest still. The starters, as we mentioned before, Senswits should be found in all of Kanto and Zoto, considering that Zoto and Kanto are right by each other. The only problem is this big mountain separating them. Also made the mountainous Pokemon in Kanto, along with Ponyta and several others, could be found in these mountain ranges as well. But Ferret and Senswit could be separated mostly because of mountain ranges. Mountain ranges are something that separates species, and they're very, very hard to traverse as well. But I think I could imagine a few Senswits rafting to Kanto, which again, they in the Johto games, they have established a population in Route 1. Hoo-Hoo and Noctowl should occupy both regions. Hoo-Hoo and Noctowl can really just fly over to Johto and establish populations there. There's no excuse for this one. Radiant and Raybur, same thing. Spinarak and Ariados can occupy the lowlands of most of the region, and most of the forested areas. Crobat, of course, can be found wherever Zubat and Golbat are. Tinsaw and Ranton should be found basically in the water. We're skipping the babies and Togepi and Tortetic. Natu and Xatu should be found around ruins of Elf, but could also expand around mostly forested areas and mountainous areas. Yes, since they can fly. Meryl and Ambrosio should not be this well for their own region. Melon and Woozle can travel through water and can be found mostly around river areas and along riversides, both Kanto and Johto. Next is the Mareep line. Basically, since Mareep are basically the analog of domestic sheep, I can see people from Johto basically introducing them to Kanto, and they're found basically around everywhere, from released to domestic Mareep, Flaffy, and Ampharos. Sudowoodo, I think, will probably be found in more of the remote areas of the region. That's probably why Sudowoodo is so rare. Hop up, skip them, and jump up again. There's no excuse for these Pokemon not to go to Kanto. No excuse. Next is Sunkern and Sun 4. Sunkern and Sun 4, I think, should be found across both regions and the forested regions. Next is Yamba. Again, Yamba, I think it's probably found across, which would be found across both regions. But again, there might be a hypothesis for this. Kanto might have driven these species to extinction, and of course, therefore, all these species will be reduced. Hooper and Cragsass will be found in both regions, but is now only found in Johto, but still occupies many of the waterways of Johto. Murkrow is of course found mostly around urban areas, and should be mischievous as well, since they're ghost types. All effects will be found in most of the cave areas, as they contribute to the cave ecosystems in Pokemon. Giraffarigs would be found across all of Johto, but there might have been a presence of Girafarig or Girafarig-like species in Kanto. Pinecone Fortress is currently found across both regions. Gligar should be found around the mountainous areas of Johto, and of course the Mount Moon area of Kanto and the Victory Road area, and also should be found around the Dark Cave area, at least that small tiny area. But that's probably too many Pokemon. Snubbull and Gramble should be found around urban areas and areas near that. Krillfish should be found in the water. Suckle should be found around beaches, and caves. Heracross should be found across all forests. Sneasel should be found on the very, 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 very tip of this mountain, where it's very icy and snowy. And I think the probably more common areas like that is more snowy, which we'll get to in a different video about, Gen 4 or Sinnoh. Teddiursa and Ursaring should be found across the entire region. Bears are very, very adaptable animals can be found in various habitats today. No reason Teddiursa and Ursaring can only be found in the mountainous areas. But again, it's likely that humans persecuted them thus to the mountain areas, and they should be reintroduced to less mountainous areas. Sorghum and Macaco should just be found in lava areas. That's it. Soyab and Power Slime should be also reintroduced to the Foam Islands, and also the Mount Silver as well. And also Mamoswine as well. Corsola, Remoraid, Octillery, and Mantine should be found in all oceans around the region. Delibird, of course, with the other one, should be found in icy regions. Skarmory should be found in the roughlands near the Mount Moon area, and of course around the region. They are fine Pokemon. I wouldn't be surprised if they descend from the mountains to breed, but only at a certain season. Houndour and Houndour should be found across the region. They are very important predators as well. Phanpy and Donphan should be found around the Badlands areas. Same thing with Ravi-Tarine. Statler should be found across both regions. The others are essential herbivores around the entire region, and Statler should be. Smeargles are basically found across the urban regions. Same thing with Tyrogue and Hippotop. And Mutang should be found around where Tauros is. Tauros is actually, and Mutang will cover in one area. They're basically just the analogs of feral cattle. There might be a couple of feral populations and several routes. And we'll now get to Gen 3, which will be the last generation where Hoenn region is an island ecosystem, which is very, very, very vulnerable, and we'll only be using native Gen 3 Pokemon for this experiment. Of course, all Pokemon the official Pokédex will be expanded to various others, and Hoenn has a lot of different ecosystems for its region. But we'll be doing the first half of Hoenn, the native Gen Hoenn Pokemon. Poochyena and Mightyena are basically found across the whole Hoenn archipelago. Are mostly found on the main islands. Rhino and Zigzagoon as well. Same thing with the Wurmple and Wurmple which is also found in several other regions as well. Rotadrine as well can be found across the more wetland regions, but can be found basically across the whole region. Same thing with the Seedot line. Taro should be found across the whole archipelago, but maybe because of introduced species, Taro have been basically pushed to a fringe area. Yeah, basically. Is this a better image? But yeah, being an island ecosystem, Ringo and Pelipper should be found across all three current regions that we discussed. Pelipper and Ringo should be found across all regions, since they have basically found in every region since then, which means they're extremely common literally everywhere. Waltz, Courier, and Gardevoir could be introduced around more urban regions in the area the couple has, but also can survive around this area, which means it can survive around more woodland habitats. Which means all the woodland habitats they would survive in relatively easily. Next, the Surskit line should be found across the whole region, but it's probably rare because of introduced species. Sumus and Breloom are basically should be found in the forested areas of the region. Along with Swackoff line as well, and the Nikata line. Whisper and its line should be found around forested regions, which is proven by its map, and also around cave regions, parts of the map. Makuhita should be found around cave regions. That's what it's found as a original game. It also been introduced to Aurora, basically ruining the environment of that region. Silver and Nosepass. Azul should be found around the entire Mirror line around the region, basically. Skitty and Delcat should be found basically around every urban area and town around the region since they're cats, and cats are beloved by humans. Silverwide, Maro, and Elron line should be found across all caves. Meditite and Meditam can also be found around Zoe regions around Sinnoh, but they can also be found in most three caves. Electric and Magnetic can be found around forested areas and more open areas, but they're only restricted down to one route now. Silver Apostle of Mayan should be found across the whole region along Volbeat and Illuminazi. Roselia as well should be found across the whole region, but they might have been introduced here, and maybe they can't evolve because of some circumstances. Gorbel and Swalot should be found around more urban areas and more open areas. Yes. And sometimes more forested areas. Carvana, Sarpedo, Rainbow, and Railroad should be found across the whole ocean. Camelot and Torkoal alongside Slugboy and Macago could be around the volcanic part of the area, which does shorten the range a lot. But Numo and Camelot could be found around more hardy regions of the archipelago. Spoiling and Grubpig is also found around a couple more mountainous regions as well. Trapinch and Kankia are basically found across the couple desert areas. Spins are now restricted to the one route where basically it's raining ash all day. But yeah, Skarmory is also found in that region, and we'll cover the rest of the Pokemon and Pokédex in that area, and how they may have gotten to that region. The only Pokemon that is implied to be introduced is, of course, Corvus and Crawdont. We don't know which region they're originally from, and maybe they'll discuss that in another video, in another game. And Swablu and Altaria will be found across the whole region and various other regions, as they're shown very common and widespread for the anime since their introduction. Zangoose and Seviper are probably found across the island, basically fighting against each other. Ruto and Zoroark are found in most caves around the area, but mostly found around the Media Falls. Barbos and Whiscash are mostly found in river ecosystems. Betoy and Krator are found mostly around desert ecosystems. Feebas and Malrotics would be found around water ecosystems. And of course, the ghost type Pokemon are found wherever ghost types are. But it seems that Suppers are found commonly outside of Mount Pyre, which means they could be found across the region if they really are. Tropius is in the more tropical part of the whole region, but really it could be found across the whole region. It could be this region's analog for, of course, the giant horses. Absols are pretty rare and probably somehow got here through rafting. Dean. But this may be their native habitat. Who really knows? But they are common. They are found in various other regions. Excuse me for farting. Snow and Greyley and Sphere and its line are found mostly around icy regions, and probably got here through rafting. And Greyley and Snow probably evolved in the ice areas. And of course, all the water type Pokemon are found in the water. Bagon is found in Mount Media Falls in one small area. And Beldum is probably not native to this region. So that's basically about this video. And of course, we'll be discussing how they possibly could have got, how the non-native Pokemon could have got to Hoenn, including Corvus. So that's basically about this video. Goodbye.